Hey, if you're focusing on sales in order to scale your business, stop. It is not going to work. Don't do that. Listen to what I have said. Let's go. Hey everyone, it's Alvin Poe. I help entrepreneurs and business owners scale up their businesses to the next level. I hear this a lot. People always say that sales is the first thing that they should look at in order to scale up their business. That is actually not true at all. When I was running Vodian, I had the same thoughts as well. I looked at sales, it was the first thing that I wanted to improve. It made sense. Theoretically, the more people that come into a business and buy stuff, the more money you make. So it made sense that that was the way to grow your business. And a lot of people think this way. The problem is, businesses are like a bucket of water. The bigger your bucket, the more water you hold. And think of water as, the amount of sales that come in. Now, if your bucket is leaking, the amount of water that you can put in, sure, you might have a lot, but it's just gonna leak out anyways. And that's usually what happens when businesses first start out. Businesses are scaling or starting to scale. A lot of their processes, a lot of their systems, they aren't in place. So even though you can get water into your bucket, it is eventually gonna just leak out anyway. And that basically means that you're putting in a lot of effort, a lot of money to acquire new customers and not getting a good ROI or a good return on investment. And that's essentially why you really shouldn't focus on sales when trying to scale your business. Sure, when you first start out, yeah, you need sales to survive, you need sales to in order to grow, and that's perfectly fine. But when we shift to a scaling mode, then you got to start thinking differently. You got to start thinking long term. You got to start thinking systematically. You got to start thinking in terms of a customer journey. And I teach that in the 5E scale method that I use to scale my business to $30 million. In the 5E scale engine, I talk about the customer journey and how it's made up into five parts: discovery, consideration, conversion, fulfillment, and then renewal. Now, each of these five steps are super important because if you don't do any one of these steps well, then the customer is just going to leak out of your bucket, and you're just going to lose the amount of money that you paid in order to acquire that that customer. The initial part is usually where everybody is interested in. It's where a lot of people focus on creating ads and running campaigns in order to acquire the customer. But nobody looks at the remaining four stages of the customer journey. And that's something that I feel that more entrepreneurs need to do. So each of these stages of the customer journey is super important because they are essential to the customer's experience with your company. Now, if the experience is bad, then it's like literally having that leaky bucket. The customer is just going to be dissatisfied and they are going to leave you. And guess what? Because they're going to leave you, they're going to find alternatives and they're going to find that in your competitors. And once that's done, and if your competitor is doing a good job, then you're just gonna lose that customer forever. So that's not what we want, and that's what we need to try to prevent. The way we prevent that is to really structuring and systemizing all aspects of the customer journey. So the first part is discovery. Everybody seems to be focused on that. That's where all the ads and campaigns are. But in the next phase is consideration. Now, when a customer comes to your company, one of the things that he or she needs to consider is like whether or not you are a good fit, whether or not you are reliable, whether or not you're trustworthy, whether or not you can really give them what that your customer is looking for. The way they do that is typically through stuff like testimonials, reviews, ratings. If you go to Google Maps, for example, and you search for businesses and you find something, for example, if you're looking for a steakhouse, you go to Google Maps and you search for steakhouses. you see a whole lot of steakhouses. Now, the how I do it is I look at the steakhouse that are listed and I want to find people, the steakhouses that people are very happy with, and I know that by looking at the reviews and the ratings and seeing the ones that have a higher score. When I see that, I feel reassured that that might be a place that I would like, and then I'm willing to give that a try. That's going to be the same thing in your business as well. Your customer has a need and he or she has found you. The only thing that's stopping them from making a sale is deciding on whether or not you're reliable, trustworthy, and can do a good job. So make sure you have lots of proof, lots of testimonials, really good reviews, really good ratings at that stage. You've got to really design everything, really engineer everything. And this applies to throughout the customer journey. And next, when you go to conversion, now we talk about how the customer can pay you, what kind of pricing the you have, the pricing types, the payment methods, the payment plans, whatever it is, to make sure that you can actually collect payment from the customer. That's all going to be covered in a conversion step. If you have an e-commerce business, this is literally the place where your website is, how fast it loads, how smooth the process is, how much friction it has. All that must be looked at the conversion stage. In the fulfillment stage is where you actually deliver your product or service to the customer. And that again is really important because depending on what kind of business you're in, depending on what kind of product or service you provide, sometimes this can be lifelong. If you think of telcos, telecom companies like, in Singapore, we have mobile providers like Singtel, StarHub, M1. These guys typically have almost a lifelong customer, life. Um, these days it's a bit different, but typically if a customer signs up with them and nothing happens, as in nothing bad happens, the customer might stay with them for a really long time. If that's the case, then your fulfillment period is really the life of that commitment. And you want to do such a good job with it by providing excellent customer service, excellent customer support, giving loyalty rewards, whatever it is that it takes to provide a really good service, a really good experience for the customer. Because when you do that, it brings you to the next stage, which is renewal. And in renewal, the customer will decide whether or not he or she wants to renew their service or buy another product from you. And in the renewal stage, we always talk about CPA, cost per acquisition. That cost per acquisition isn't just the first term or the initial payment, it is the lifetime value. And if you can increase the lifetime value by increasing the chances of the customer renewing with you, then you're essentially lowering that CPA so much because your CLV, your customer lifetime value, increases as well. And that's essentially what I mean by, the leaky bucket analogy. If you have any of these points that are bad, people or the water is just gonna leak out of that bucket. And somebody who, like for example, your competitor who has a really solid bucket, every single drop of water that goes in stays in the bucket. Man, they're gonna have a really good system. They're gonna be outrunning you. They're gonna be outperforming you. You guys can each acquire one customer. It goes into your bucket, and for your competitor, it stays in his bucket. For you, if it leaves your bucket, you are going to be immediately behind your competitor. And if you think about scaling, that doesn't allow you to scale because you're always going to be struggling, you're always going to be stuck. And your competitor who has a really good system starts growing one customer at a time and eventually starts scaling up. Um, and that's why I really want to say I want to make sure that entrepreneurs and business owners focus on what's important. If this message resonates with you, let me know. Like or subscribe this video and leave a comment so that I know it's something that is useful for you. and I will make more of these videos. So till then, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.